I've started making a t-shirt from an old t-shirt of mine. It's probably, pretty cheap quality that's been washed and worn a few times. So I just want to see how it turns out when I make it up into a doll t-shirt. The fabric itself looks alright, so it's not faded or really stretched out of shape or anything like that, but it doesn't have any ribbing. The neckband is just made from the same fabric, so that I'm going to use the same fabric to make a band for the sleeve and the neckband, and I'm just going to do a straight hem around the bottom. So this pattern is my 1874 module 1 t-shirt, and I'm doing the size for the 17-inch baby born, and I'm just going to do a 3/8 inch hem on the bottom. So I've tucked up the bit extra if you want to do cover stitch. So I'm just going to do a single row of stitching, and the same with the sleeve. I've turned it up, so there's a cutting line for a hem and a cutting line for cover stitch. So I'm just doing mine, cutting it off and putting on a band. So there's all my pieces. So these are the pieces I've cut out. I've got my sleeve and the sleeve bands and a neckband on the fold, a front and the two backs. So I'm just going to follow the instructions for my pattern and make up the t-shirt for the baby doll. So this is my sewing machine. I'm setting up ready to do my knit fabric. Now when I do knits, I like to turn my zigzag about, well, not quite one, so I think, and that's probably millimeters, so I've got 0 to 7, so I'm just going to make it so that it's not quite on the 1 for my zigzag. Keep the length at the normal 2.5, and I'm going to change my stitch thing to zigzag here. So I'm setting it up so I have a very narrow zigzag for my stitch. The needle is, I'm going to try to keep using my regular needle, not a knit needle. Just, I suppose you'd call me a lazy sewer, so if I don't have to change it, I won't. We'll just see how we go for the first few things. But I've used this needle quite a bit, so it may just not work for my knit at present. And I'm still using my 1/4 inch foot. It's got a fairly big needle hole in it, so that when I do the zigzag will, the zigzag just goes back and forwards inside that hole. Because it's less than 1 millimeter, I don't have to change my foot to a zigzag foot. And this foot works better than the zigzag foot for keeping an even pressure on the small projects. So if I can use my regular foot, I will. And because the zigzag's so narrow, it fits inside the hole of my 1/4 inch foot. So that's how I set up my machine for sewing my knits.